Welcome back, everybody, and sincere apologies for the break-in transmission due to audio technical challenges. I hope that all our challenges have been sorted and we're back online. So I'm going to literally start from the beginning and introduce and welcome our panelists for today. We've got the one and only Tholes Mo, a comedian that has now joined the foray of fourth industrial revolution black industrialists in the gaming space, and he started a company. He started a network of training youngsters to become the animators of the future. He's going to be telling us a lot about what he's doing and why he's doing it, and why it's important for youngsters to be part of this new path in your careers if you are a content creator. We've also got Isabel Rock, who has headed up the Animation SA, has been part of initiatives at Tsimologo, and is a passionate trainer and facilitator of skills in this animation business, as well as Isaac Crooked Chokwe, who's done a lot of work animating and working in design in film and television. Welcome to all of you, dear panelists.
Thank you very much, Ntate Lebone. Thank you very much for having us. It's a very exciting moment. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So I'm just going to thank the partners that are the hosts of this webinar, the GFC, the NFVF, the Film Publications Board, and the Department of Arts and Culture, Sports and Recreation, who are hosting these sessions during a very difficult time. We are celebrating Youth Month. We are celebrating June 16 in the midst of something that we've never had to go through before, the coronavirus, COVID. And we are really trying to take this as seriously as possible, social distance, stay safe, but at the same time, think about all of the artists that have not been able to generate any income during this period. And as part of the initiatives that the Department of Arts and Culture has developed, there is a relief fund that has been launched, and we encourage you to go and visit the GFC, the NFVF, and Arts and Culture social media platforms to get information about where to apply for COVID-19 relief funding. And with all of the formalities then being done, I'm going to go straight to you, Mr. Tholes Mo. Tell us, young man, what made you decide you are not going to focus on comedy? What made you realize that you are a young content creator that has seen opportunities in this space that's called interactive and 3D technology usage in this fourth industrial revolution, and you decided to focus on gaming, sir? Tell us what you are doing and why it is relevant in the fourth industrial revolution to be doing what you are doing.
Thank you very much for that, Ntate Lebone. You know, the first and foremost, I did stand-up comedy for around about 15 years of my life. And, you know, I believe I had quite a good run and a great career in it. And one thing that was always ringing in my mind is what I'm truly passionate about, not what I'm how can I say, not what I'm easily accustomed to, you know, something that you're passionate about, something that I felt like would give me a challenge, and at the same time, something that I knew I would enjoy. So I've always been involved in gaming. Gaming was one thing that I always thought that would be the future, you know, and in South Africa, you know, because of it being such an expensive sport or hobby to participate in, it becomes very difficult for a strong and growing Black community within the esports space. So that inspiration or that kind of was my mission to solve, you know. Right now, what I've done with the world of esports is so amazing in South Africa. First and foremost, I've formed the UNISA Esports and Robotics Federation, which is, you know, responsible for the legislation and regulation of esports in South Africa. And secondly, is also creating great collaborations with the Department of Education, so we can also, how can I say, bring about a change in the curriculum for basic education to add in a fourth industrial revolution based subjects. And also to inspire the kids to change their mindsets and know that you can't be going into an industry that will be robotified or that will be replaced by artificial technology. So yeah, that is my passion. So I call myself a fourth industrial revolutionist.
Aha, my brother. And I'm going to come back and ask a lot of detail, but for now, I'm going to ask to go to Sister Isabel. You have a passion for specifically training, and you specifically want to see people who are current content creators using this opportunity to gain new skills. I'm going to just give a couple of stats to say that they say that globally, jobs that require real-time and interactive 3D skills are growing 601% faster than the job market overall, right? They say that AV and VR engineering is now the fastest growing job area, that it is growing at 1,400% faster than any other engineering role. How do we prepare our youth who are at the moment going into film schools, learning the same thing that we've been learning for the last 15 years, to be ready to be able to take up these new opportunities in VFX, in animation, in video gaming, in artificial intelligence? Tolesmol mentioned robotics, in cinematic rendering, in 3D printing, across all of the digital platforms. The skills that we have today, are we on the wave? Have we missed the wave? What do we need to do as a country to make sure that we have 100 more Tolesmos?
Yeah, so one of the first things that I looked at when joining the Social Impact and Human Capital Innovation Unit and Animation SA was designing a cradle to grave strategy that looks at from preschool to primary school, to junior school, to high school, to post school, to professionals, right up to when you're in your old age and you're sitting with all that knowledge. So in looking at the full scope and the full spectrum of the target audience and the potential market that we have, that we need to source that talent, I had to break down different strategies for every area of that age group, and designing a roadmap really for young artists who are out there. Because when I did my research into animation schools, a lot of the stuff that came out where kids were saying, you know, our parents, we couldn't explain to our parents this industry, that it existed, and, you know, what was out there. So it was a big fight for them to get support from their parents, because parents are our first investors. And so kids need to be empowered with knowledge, first and foremost, to convince their parents that, yes, they'll get a job, especially Black kids, that they will, this industry can employ them and that there's work for them. So we then started looking at how do we start to communicate that. And fortunately, with Triggerfish and the German funders GIZ, they managed to create videos that educate kids about the animation industry. They interviewed some top animation players, just to show kids that, yeah, they're Black kids from the township who are doing phenomenally well in animation. And so that forms part of my social impact unit, where it's looking at how do we start to piggyback off existing community centers that have machines to hold the videos, can hold free software, and start to distribute that as broadly as possible. And I'm actually hoping to engage with the Gauteng Film Commission on, I believe they're working on the libraries program of ensuring that audiovisual content and so forth is within the library. So piggybacking on existing infrastructure to get the word out there to young kids, to encourage them to first and foremost be empowered to make an argument for the arts, that yes, this is an industry worth coming into. So once they come into it, it's then ensuring that the bursary process is managed better, making sure that the school system, because there's a lot of issues within the animation schools that need to be addressed. One of them is selection criteria. You know, a lot of kids are being selected when they do not have the skills or abilities. They're getting selected because they can pay fees. And that's a big disadvantage for those kids, for those parents who are paying for that. And this kid is just never going to be employable. So these are all things that as Animation SA, we have to address. The fact that there's no professionals courses, no professional training in this industry. So how do you move from a junior animator to being a senior animator? It's just years of experience in our industry. But in other parts of the world, you can take the various courses and move on to those different things. So these are part of the things we're discussing with the Department of Arts and Culture, in looking at how do we start to revive those TVET colleges and put in some of these really important training programs, professionals programs and so forth, incorporating gaming, animation, VR. So yeah, the proposal has been submitted to them. Of course, COVID put everything on hold, so that's on hold. And then when looking at sort of the BE SMMEs, who are very much my focus under the transformation unit, is looking at what's the most important intervention that would help empower them to getting into production. So I created a proposal and strategy called The Road to Broadcast, because that's the bottom line, is if they're not doing long form TV series, then they're basically just doing commercials and stuff to pay the bills. But most have lots of projects on the shelf that they do not know how to get into broadcast. So the strategy looks at developing that and getting them on that road. So yeah, we have various interventions that we're addressing.
Just to intervene, and I think that you're really talking on a very important point there, because for me, access to information about training, you see, there's other barriers to entry you spoke about, like cost, right? Like our parents not knowing that there's opportunities, like even the teachers in the schools not directing kids towards these particular careers, right? But I wanted to ask you just in terms of what is your assessment of the demand at the moment, right? What would you say is the demand for people today in South Africa with 3D and interactive technology creation skills for the cultural industry? How would you give numbers to that demand?
There's a huge demand. I mean, when I started engaging, when I came back into the industry, what is it, 3 or 4 years now, there was a 30,000 shortage of animators worldwide. That number is phenomenal now. 30,000 shortage of animators worldwide. That was about 4 years ago. So you can imagine where it is now with the fourth industrial revolution and all the impact and changes that's taken place. The impact of COVID, for one, has transformed that, because now with the film industry trying to figure out how does it do social distancing and safe recording, we can build all the sets. You no longer need a hotel. We can literally build that hotel. Every picture, every set, every prop can now be built. And once it's built, it never has to be done again. You can rent that hotel from an online platform and use it in any film that you want. So there in itself is a huge opportunity for job creation of just young kids building models and sets and props for the film industry.
Let me do this, Isabel, and bring in Isaac on exactly that point, but do it this way. Isaac, my brother, yesterday I was having a discussion with a young man, and this young man's primary career is that he works in architecture, and he uses a platform called Unity. And when somebody is looking to build a new hotel or to build a new mall, or if you're looking to build your new big house there, right? He literally makes you walk through the space and, feel the space, the volume of the space before you're actually able to move into the space. And I was saying to this young man, Brother, we need you in my space, because what you've got is that you've got the technical skills to create all of these environments. I work with a lot of creatives who are able to build story, but they do not necessarily have the technical skills to be able to now use this technology. You, Isaac, my brother, have been able to, in a very short space of time, use technology to be able to generate a lot of content, both for film and for television. Are you able to just tell us of some of the successes that you've had and some of the challenges that you've had in growing your animation business? Can you hear me, Isaac?
Yeah, I started. I'm self-taught. Yes, I can hear you. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear, sir.
Is everyone able to hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah. What's happening?
Isaac, we can hear you. You're live.
Libon.
Yes, sir. We can hear you. You're
Oh,
live.
brilliant. Oh, yeah.
So,
my animation journey, I'm self-taught. I kind of took seriously on. Yes, I'm speaking. Are you not hearing me? Yes, I'm saying. Yes, I am. Are you listening to me, sir? Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, continue, Isaac.
Hello, hello, hello.
Isaac, we can hear you, sir.
Hello, hello, hello.
Okay, I think Isaac, Osmic, I'm going to ask you maybe to just sort out Isaac's audio while we continue on this side with the two other panelists. If I was to put this question to you, Mongezi said, there was a question around the narrative of African cinema, the narrative of the African industry across this new content creation opportunity. What kind of games are you creating? What kind of content are you looking to create, taking into consideration the challenge of creating an alternative narrative with the content that you're producing?
Thank you very much, Libone, for asking me that question. You know, we are in a very exciting time right now because we are currently in development of a game called Shaka Zulu and the Pride. It's specifically designed on Unreal Engine 5. It's going to be for PlayStation 5. And we are currently, you know, working hand in hand with the Credo Mutua Foundation and the Zulu Traditional Council as well to get, you know, proper information as to what is African mythology, what is the Zulu mythology, and really, you know, create a universe for kids to fall in love with, you know, and create superheroes that are based on our African heroes, that are based on our African mythology, that are based on our African folklore, you know, and what's so amazing about this is that, you know, we have a couple of stakeholders that have decided to jump on to help with the development of this project because, you know, the crazy thing is about developing a game, it's very, very expensive. I mean, if you look at the creation of the game Red Dead Redemption 2, it was over $224 million to create, over 6 different animation and gaming development companies, you know. So right now, I feel so privileged and so blessed to be in a position whereby, you know, we are getting support, we are getting big stakeholders to to participate and help us making this dream a reality. So what we want to say is that we're also inspiring a lot of young kids to also come up with their own gaming content, and also, you know, start learning for themselves as to on YouTube and on different platforms on how to do game creation and how to create storyboards and how to, you know, come up with wonderful ideas that you can get other people to create for you if you don't have the technological skills, you know. The most important.
I want to ask you a very basic question, right? So you know, certain things very for granted, right? What is Unreal Engine? Like I hear you, like if I was sitting as a layman right now, what is Unreal Engine? Explain to me what is Unreal Engine.
Basically, Unreal Engine is a development kit and software program that you can use to create animation, to create games. It's the same thing as Unity. You can use Unity as well to create games. But the only backfall is that, you know, for example, in South Africa, we had a game called Bootfighter, which was made by New Reality, and they pushed it up to 150,000 downloads on, and they used Unity as that platform. But once you reach that 150,000 downloads, you have to then strike a deal with Unity, and it doesn't always sit well on your side because they end up owning more of the IP of the product, or unless you buy the software, which is even more expensive. So what I can say is that in terms of what is Unreal is basically a software. Yeah, it's a software on iOS that you use.
I really appreciate your answers, and I'm going to now bring back Isaac, and we'll speak on that particular issue of the narrative again. But I just want to say that I recently read something that was saying that about 20 years ago, you either needed to put that you have word processing skills on your CV, or that you had Microsoft Excel, and we didn't look at your CV if you didn't have those two things, right? And the research now says that in the next 5 to 10 years, if you don't have Unreal Engine or Unity or any 3D or interactive skills, basic coding on your coding, it's going to make it very difficult to get a job. True. Isaac, welcome back. You've had a big challenge, my brother, in the content that you've been creating to find skilled people, specifically young, skilled Black youth that you are able to bring into your content value chain, right? What challenges have you faced in creating your content?
It's been incredibly difficult because Hi there. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah. Okay, brilliant. It's been incredibly difficult to find people who have experience in Unreal Engine, first of all, in South Africa, because it's not taught in school. Most of the time they use Unity, and as Toles Mo has said, after 150, then you start having to negotiate with Unity and having to pay them, and they own some of your IP. With Unreal Engine, I think it's at $1 million. You have to make $1 million first before you pay them 5%. So it's a better deal. And as a piece of software, it's great because it's like the Swiss Army knife of software. You know, you can make a game, you can animate, you can do previs, you can do simulations, you can do automotive and aerospace design, and you could do, you could be a technical artist, you could be a technical animator, you can make games, you can, we make animation that's motion capture driven, and motion capture on its own is a whole world on its own. But with Unreal Engine, it makes our lives easier because I can literally put an actor in a motion capture suit, the inertial motion capture suit that has sensors on it. So when the actor moves, we capture that data and use that data to animate a 3D or a 2D character. So that speeds up things a whole lot. And because animation in general in South Africa has been an elite art form. You know, if you're not rich, you didn't have access. The schools were very specialist type schools. And if you wanted to learn animation, you either had to learn Maya or one other piece of software that they offered. There was no Cinema 4D, there was no Blender, there was no Unreal. There's no Unreal Engine right now. So it's an issue. You know, I'm trying to employ people at my animation studio, but it's difficult to find anyone, to the point where you go to these online sites where people put up the skills that they have, and you ask, you know, you employ someone online. And the nice thing about Unreal Engine, the person doesn't have to be there. They could literally log in, and it has a just like how, you know, Zoom happens. Now imagine we're on Zoom but working on one project, and I'm modeling and you're rigging and she's texturing and he's creating the environment in one piece of software in the comfort of our own homes. And that's why it's helping so much in the COVID lockdown. So this is a tool that I think should be taught from primary school, because can you guys still hear me?
Yes, you know, I want to intervene and come in and say, I'd like you to speak about something else, Mokukut, but just after I give Isabel a chance, right? And I'd like you to speak about what companies like Quixel have just done to revolutionize the space that you're working in terms of creating photoreal immersion into your animated space and really merging live action and animation. But you spoke specifically about a demand for skills, right? And Unreal Engine is for free. You can learn Unreal Engine, the basic.
It's for free. It's for free until you make $1 million. Then you pay 5%.
Okay, wait, you see what it's for free to use. I'm talking about the most basic of basic.
Oh, yes, to use it's free. Yes.
For Zone 7, and he's hearing us speak about Unreal Engine. And he's saying, where do I learn this tool that I am being told is going to be the Microsoft Word or Excel of tomorrow? The principle is that if you are able to access the internet to serve whatever, you are able to access free online lessons as a beginner all the way to advanced lessons in Unreal Engine and in Unity. So the issue of saying, Isabel, I'm trying to bring you in here. The issue of saying we need to create access to training is what has become very important, and I think was the core of our discussion in terms of human capital development and the barriers to developing that human capital. You wanted to say something about that?
Yeah, I was just thinking back on, you know, when I was doing the selection for our interns, and, you know, from my first experience many years ago of starting an internship, when I look back, the most successful component of that was selection criteria, because if you select them correctly, it's an easy process of getting them to really good quality animators in a short space of time. So when I was designing my global cradle to grave strategy, internships was the first place where I looked at starting, because it addresses an immediate need of people who need skills. And then of course looked at getting mainly focusing on art direction and getting kids who can do the artwork. And so Lucejo Forster became the first trainer of that internship. And so that had us also looking at the issue of Africanization of imagery and animation, which interestingly enough, we couldn't address because he realized that there's a decolonization of imagery we had to deal with first before we could address Africanization of imagery. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done in ensuring that we, just the training on that, of getting kids to how do we start to create, like Mo was saying, with Zulu culture, and what is the imagery? How does that live in animation now? How do we interpret that culture and the various cultures we have in these art forms and mediums? So these are all parts of the training that have to take place. And so it becomes critical that we start getting the support from, DAC and so forth to address this, because every animation studio I know will tell you, we've actually did the research last year, and every single one of them was critical skills and shortage, and they all list the critical skills and shortage that they were experiencing. So yeah, it is a major problem.
Isaac and Tolesmo, please feel free to come in on what Isabel is saying. I think that I'm getting a sense here that we are behind the wave, and that we are running behind the world, from the frustration that is shared by just the three of you speaking here with so much passion and experience, and having listened to Lesego yesterday, having listened to the teams from the Popeye as well yesterday, very young people who, the one thing that they said is that you have to have worked hard. Like, it's not going to come after having just worked for 2 years. They've been at it for 4 or 5 years and trying to learn. But at the point where you are starting out, and I think for me that is the most important, we need to have created policy, we need to have created the institutions, we need to have created the framework for kids to be able to learn about this world from even primary school, as you're saying. Tolesmo, I see one of your little ones walking around. Your children live in this world, sir. Take us there. How do we get our kids to be able to understand? How do we get our government to be able to understand that this is where the future of our industry lies?
First and foremost, you know what? I have been engaging with the government so much to kind of create, a simple understanding for the parents to let their children explore the fourth industrial revolution career opportunities. Because the first thing that we had to get rid of is stereotypes. Because immediately a black parent would be like, "It's TV game, Moshi TV. You can't play your video games," or they'll be saying things like, "You can't become a professional, or you can't make money because udlalama game." We have reached out to the Department of Communications, and last year I had the honor to be in Parliament on the 10th of July for the budget vote speech, and we managed to get gaming and esports as a fourth industrial revolution skill set for the CSIR campaign. And at first it was not acknowledged at all, and it's a very white dominated industry, and it's only like that simply because the black community does not have, number one, funds to access consoles and to game online with high speed quality internet. And what we have done with our company is that we're creating this opportunity by fighting at the top level to say, let fourth industrial revolution based subjects be a part of basic education. So what we've done is that we've partnered up with the North American Scholastic Esports Federation, and through the UNISA Esports and Robotics Federation, we are going to be introducing basic 4IR esports skills to kids for free in schools. And it's such an amazing initiative that we also have Dynamic Mandela Agency as well, saying that they want to put the Mandela brand behind this initiative, because it stands for liberation for the black mind. And last but not least on that is that it's important for this fourth industrial revolution that we, the black community, become pioneers in the industry, because right now, as I said, without us pioneering this industry, we're going to be going to be end up being the consumer, as we are right now. We consume everything. We're the consumers of everything. So I'm very much steadfast on that, and we are making these things available. So it's going to be a very exciting 5 years to come, because we're implementing this as from this year.
And Isabel, for you, it has been a journey of working with many youngsters, right? I would like to just, with what Momongezi was just saying, please, can you share successes? Like I'm looking out to hear, after say 5 years of the initiatives that we have been working on, Mongezi is still speaking about racial disparities in terms of access, right? We are still speaking about financial barriers in terms of access. So I'm asking myself, I think of the guys at the Prente, and I think absolute success in terms of what Isaac has been able to do at the Prente. What other successes are we able to speak about before we continue, Isabel?
Well, I mean, just on a personal note, my internship that I ran in 2008, I think it was, 2008, 2007. So we ran it for about 4 years, and every year we took on new interns, the absolute cream of the crop. And those kids have gone on to do phenomenal things. They are working in international studios. They're running their own SMMEs. They're freelancers doing phenomenal work internationally and locally. So that's the beauty of animation and animation career, is that you can literally work from home and have clients in Ireland, in all over the world. So, you know, those interns were set up for life. And the beauty of the quality of the training that was given to them is that they can fit in any studio in the world. In fact, when they joined Triggerfish's first film, Zambezia, I think it was, they were heads of departments, because nobody had actually been trained and developed to complete a full film. So their internship was on completing a full-on short film from beginning to end, and at very high quality, because it was broadcast. It went on Ster-Kinekor, New Metro, SABC 1, 2. It sold out in Jet stores and Pep stores, the DVD. So the quality was really high, even for an internship. It won a SAFTA award, and it was an internship. So when you design the internship to be really high end, you get the return on investment on multiple levels. I mean, we had eventually refined the internship where within 6 months we took kids to be employable. It took us a couple of years to get there, to refine the process and do a post-mortem on it every year and improve it. And this is what I want to open up to the industry and make sure that we're getting as many of those internships set up. In fact, every studio should have it. It made business sense for me to have an internship built into my production. So I was able to every year get low cost, high quality animators, because they were trained to the standard and quality that I needed. So yeah, they're huge successes. I mean, as you know, Triggerfish has won international awards on quite a few of their productions. They've distributed globally. The world knows us. The world knows the quality we produce, and we just have to make sure that we put in the training programs that will produce the quality kids for those jobs, because the world is waiting for us to say, yeah, we can take on your TV series. We can do that. You can outsource to us, because they trust our work, but we're not putting in the work.
And what happens, Isabel, is that a lot of these interns that you train, as you say, end up going to work in Ireland and
Yes.
France and other places in the world. While there's a benefit to this outflow of talent, there's also what leaves the challenge for people like Tolesmo and for Isaac, who I'd like to bring in terms of what initiatives are they working on internally at the moment, and what would their suggestions be towards consolidating training programs? Because I think we've all identified a skills gap. We've all identified a uncoordinated training and funding of training, right? So
Yeah.
how do we begin working towards that? Any suggestions from you, either as
Well, I think that the training has to also start at the top. when I started producing the 3D animated series that we're doing at the SABC, no one knew what a motion capture suit was. So now we've been commissioned by people who don't know what we're doing. They don't understand the language. They don't even understand that the pipeline completely has changed. When you are in pre-production and you're talking about pre-viz and post-viz, it's confusing to people that are giving you money. And if they don't understand what you're doing, they're not going to understand how much you need. Right now, we're doing a 130-part series for next to nothing. It's literally, Isabel knows. There was a group from the SABC that went on a fact-finding mission, and they went to Isabel's company to find out whether or not we know what we're doing, or whether or not, and what the language means. So now you have, I feel like we're stampeding ahead of the people who, whether it's commissioning editors or whether it's channels. You're going to go there and pitch something and speak about Unreal Engine and speak about motion capture. No one will know what the hell you're talking about.
We have to teach and build as we go along. Like, as we're working, we got to be teaching people and building the industry at the same time. Like, it's a mammoth task. It's ridiculous.
It's a mountain that we definitely can climb. And I want to bring in Tolesmo on that and say, Tolesmo, when I met you about 10 years ago, sir, the word telenovela did not exist in South African lexicon, right? The process of producing fiction drama on a 9-month cycle with people hired on annual contracts as opposed to on daily contracts didn't exist, right? We created that, and today it's the staple food of millions of South Africans. So it is able, we are able to change, we're able to transform. It's about change. We were working on analog, we had to move to HD, and everybody was able to take that giant leap. And there are always the people that are there to take the first steps, right? You guys have planted the seeds and you've taken the first step. So as we progress forward, I think that the real need, and that's what maybe Tolesmo, I'd like you to maybe just be as simple as possible. How do you generate interest from the youngest to the oldest and inform them in the same way that Isaac was saying that you need to educate people at the top, and you were saying that you even need to educate from the bottom. If you were sitting here and you were speaking to the Natim Tetwa and you were speaking to the Minister of Communications, who are really our hosts for this session, and who I was part of a summit that developed policy. We developed programs to say, this is what we need to do. The gap is there in implementation. How do you think that we should work towards coming up with solutions?
You know what you first have to make them do? You first have to enlighten them of how much the industry is worth, right? That somehow creates a spark and an interest as to what is going on there. First and foremostly in the world, from what when I was looking at the stats, 2018 to 2019, there was an income generation of around about $625 billion for gaming, and that was a total GP of gaming around the world. And within that GP, we looked at what is Africa contributing towards it, and it is only 1%. And we took that 1% and said, let's find who is this 1%. We went into it and came to realize that 1% is, as I said earlier on, your white middle-aged men, your young middle-class kids that can afford to have that internet connection and so forth. You know, so when we kind of understood what is holding us back, You know, what is holding us back? That was the enlightenment point to them, to make them understand that there's a gap in the market. There's no black kids who are making that money. You know, last year, Big Five won 500,000 to 750,000 rand at the Telkom VS Gaming Championship. And when I went there, it was only a white audience. There is no audience for black kids because they, as I said, can't afford it. So if I were to speak to Nathi Mthethwa, I'd say that, you know, that in Tembisa, in Soweto, in the townships of Gugulethu, you could find the next South African esports professional. He just doesn't know it yet. That person has not been given the opportunity yet. Maradona, Pele, all the great soccer players or all the great athletes, they were not found in Dainfern or in the wonderful streets of Fourways. You know, they were found in areas where people want to persevere, where people aspire, where people want to change, where people want to make something for themselves, you know? And that's where we really have to put gaming. That's where we have to say we need a transformation of the sport, you know, as they did the same in rugby, where we have Sia Kolisi, who was the black captain of the South African sports team. In esports, we do have Protea colors for esports, and that esport team is entirely white. You understand? Now, how do we say that? How do we get a Sia Kolisi to be the captain of the South African Esport Protea team? How do we get Amanda to be a senior player within and earn Protea stripes? And when you have Protea colors, it comes with multiple benefits. They pay for your fees, you get a salary, you live nice, you have space for endorsements, you know, you travel the world, you get to challenge people from all over the world. So these kids are not given that opportunity. So what I'm saying to Nathi Mthethwa, to the MEC, is that understand that there has to be a transformation of the sport. There has to be a transformation of the industry. And the only way it can transform is if they can overcome the lack of infrastructure and the lack of education behind this whole 4IR. They can't be talking 4IR, we are building an army, but only focus on working with the Chinese. They need to focus on creating skills within the black community so that we can do what the Chinese are doing as well. So I think I'm very much passionate when it comes to you asking me that question, that the ministers would need to understand just the basic fact of the matter, that we are not making any money from this multi-billion-dollar industry.
I think we have a lot of work to do.
Another thing is that I don't want us to mislead people and convince the kids that this is an inexpensive exercise. It's incredibly expensive. Even if Unreal Engine is free, the computer that you're running the engine on needs to have a graphics card, because Unreal Engine is real time, so you need a real-time graphics card. How much is it? It's probably 30 grand, but when you import it, because we don't make them in South Africa, and they don't know what it is, they charge you 100% import fees, right? I bought a motion capture suit, it was 150,000, but when we imported it, even though it's just a suit and it's light, they charged me 100% import duties because they don't know what it is.
Oh, what it is.
Right? So now everything becomes doubly more expensive for us because, you know, we're dealing with people who go, who in log?
Yeah.
Oh,
I'd like to add on to that, Isaac. That's very much true. You know, talking from personal experience with what you're saying, right now, I have close to 3 million rand worth of holographic technology, which is stuck at customs because the electronic CE certificates don't match or don't comply with what they currently have. And I'm like, yo, if a tripping plug is a tripping plug. They don't understand the components of the machines, and it holds us back from bringing in the tech.
I want to come in there and just say that, you know, this is one of these are part of the reasons why an industry organization is so key, because you know, within our sector support, we have our chairman as the volunteer, who's trying to champion all of these courses, from DTI to arts and culture, to all of them, to address some of the issues, the legal issues, the policy issues. And a volunteer-driven organization is just not going to cut it.
Nope.
Unless, and we've been talking to government for how many years now? I feel like I'm talking to deaf ears that are just refusing to hear. And they hear the demand, they hear the skills, they hear the opportunity, but they're not backing it up with anything. Arts and culture is sitting with,
with billions of
focus a second, please, and we've spoken about government, right? And
yes,
your concerns about government are so loud and clear, right?
Yes.
Let's talk about private sector for a second.
That's where it is. You know what I've come to realize is that the private sector and the international investor moves much more faster in investing into young Black up and coming and emerging companies than our local government itself, even though they have budgets and they announce these budgets every single year saying that they've got billions and billions on end for people to create businesses from, you know. So what we are now seeing is that, for example, with us, we are being funded by a Swedish company, you know, and that Swedish company has now even bought real estate in Sandton, where we're opening up the first esports African arena, you know, and that is the kind of investment that we were looking for from local Black investors. But the local Black investor, as Dopey was saying, they don't understand what it is. So if I go to Reggie, for example, and I ask him to help me to apply at IDC to get 500 million rand to open up the first Fourth Industrial Revolution simulation store, he can't fund me in that, because it's like as you were saying. So they are aware of what the Fourth Industrial Revolution is, but then they don't understand how to implement it practically, you know. But and the only way they can do that is through consultation. They should consult with people that are already in the industry, who are trying to make means of what we have, you know, to kind of put South Africa in the map in terms of 4IR. You know, so I can fully agree with Isabel and Isaac when we say that we don't necessarily have to look at government only, but let's look at the corporate market. They are interested in investing into your 4IR ideas. Let's look at the international investor as well. They are interested in doing so.
Yeah. In fact, in my road to broadcast strategy, that's exactly what I'm looking at, is designing a funding model that looks at de-risking the investment into animation, because that's what most investors have always said. Oh my God, it's too high risk, it's too expensive. You can't prove to me that I'm going to get my return on investment. So, you know,
also,
what are the various ways that we can make this de-risk it as much as possible?
Yes.
Because the investors they know that the opportunity is there.
Yeah.
We've just got to fix the problems in the industry to make sure that we can meet those skills at that quality level, so that we can produce that the excellent work that we have. I mean, can you imagine? Wait till Credo Mutua's and Double My Children is animated in Oakry. Like,
these stories are amazing.
Studied in Ivy League schools around the world that are already brands that when we animate them, they're gonna blow up. It's like a no-brainer. So it frustrates me that we're sitting where we are when the opportunity's there.
Isaac, just 1 second, and I want to come through you by doing this, right? So I interacted with Isaac, and I walked out of the meeting with Isaac, and I said, I'm working on this drama project, and what you have just done for me is that I'm not young anymore, but you have just given me the confidence to believe in my dreams, to believe that this thing that I'm imagining, that is animated, that is not real world, can actually be done. So you gave a young Black man the confidence to say, well, you're not just dreaming, this can be doable. There's technology to be able to do this. It applies across the board, that confidence that you give to young practitioners is required for people that don't even know the opportunities in this space. They don't know about the different specialization areas, what we're working on. So at the moment, we've been speaking, and we are speaking very generic about the career opportunities, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask, as we move into the last 30 minutes of our discussion, and we even bring in some of the people that are asking questions on the social media platforms, to try and be very specific, you know?
Yes.
What are these career opportunities that we're speaking about? And what are these specific solutions? We've touched on them at a very micro, at a very macro level. So I think let's zoom into a little bit of detail. Isaac, you start off and then Tolesmo can come in.
Thank you.
Okay, I spoke about motion capture. Motion capture is used in the medical field, say gait analysis, if you hurt your leg or you're trying to figure out how to walk again, they use motion capture. It's used for robotics. It's used for computer vision in robotics. It's used for animation. It's used in sport now. So all the top athletes are wearing motion capture suits and doing the thing so that when they come back, they can analyze exactly where it is that they can improve their performances. You know, I was watching all the different Olympic teams around the world. Do they practice sessions? They're all wearing motion capture suits. So we're not wearing any motion capture suits, so they have an advantage over us. You know, so whether it's soccer or rugby or mountain climbing or whatever sport it is. So just with one. Say again.
No, I was just saying that they have all of the data, and therefore it gives them competitive advantage because they are adopting technology faster than we are.
True.
Exactly. Yeah. So what's disappointing though is that I can't just get on a call and be like, oh, SA athletes, whatever, I've got a bunch of motion capture suits that can help you guys out.
Yes.
Because what I'm going to get back is, what the hell are you talking about? What is a motion capture suit? Why do we need it?
And we haven't educated even our sports fraternity. We have not even educated our Department of Arts and Culture to say there is a link between these technologies. I spoke about the link with architects earlier on. You just mentioned a direct link between motion capture and, in particular, sport. I'm going to give you a couple of minutes to maybe just continue on the exact career. So you're speaking about motion capture. There's a kid that says, hey, thrower, right? And between being a badass drawer, artist, to fully animating, there's a process that you go through. But you have a demand for people that have different drawing skills. Speak a little bit about that.
Well, look, like I said before, you see, with a game engine, right? If you learn the one piece of software, I don't care which one it is. I use Unreal Engine, other people use Unity, other people use GIMP. It doesn't matter. If you're learning a piece of software, you're learning a bunch of skills at the same time. So yes, I'm using it for animation, but I understand VR now. I understand AR. I understand augmented reality now. Yes, I'm using it for making a TV show, but now my business is changing because I can cater for sports, I can cater for engineering, I can cater for robotics, I can cater for the medical field. So suddenly, my little animation studio isn't only an animation studio just from one piece of software.
The opportunities are endless.
Massive.
Details of the careers on your side of the field. Thank you very much, Isaac. The details of the exact careers that you've spoken about, the people that you need, the names. Like right now, the guy that is a gaffer on a set, he's a 22-year-old, right? And he's proud to be a gaffer, but he wants to pivot his career and come into this. What are the opportunities?
Thomas Mo?
Oh, is that to me? Oh, sorry. You know
Yeah.
what, as I said, there are a whole lot of opportunities, but what I really did prepare for this webinar is the question that you had just asked now, is what are the careers exactly that are available within this within our
Yes.
gaming and 4IR space. And I managed to compile a little bit of a list, and I can just hit you with a couple. For example, in the world of esports and gaming, you could be a professional player, you could be a commentator, you can be an analyst and a coach, you can be a team manager or an owner of a team, you can be a content creator, a journalist, you can be a tournament administrator or a referee, you can be a marketing and PR executive, you can be a social media manager, you can be a sales and partnerships manager, you can be an agent, you can be a production and broadcasting, you can be in legal, you can be in finance, and you can be in the event a part of gaming. So there are a whole lot of careers, and it's not like we are reinventing the wheel. You can take what you are studying now, but change the focus and put it onto 4IR. You understand? So if you are going to be, for example, studying law, there's nothing wrong with studying law, even though you will be replaced by artificial intelligence. But if you are doing law within esports or doing regulations and legislation behind the trading of esports players from country to country, that is a different kind of legal set that you want to put your mind into. And when you look at the amount of careers based on the entertainment side of gaming, there's multiple. What we need to do is also create gaming celebrities as well. There's people like, for example, Ninja, who is one of the biggest Fortnite players, and he's celebrated by so many people around the world, and they enjoy watching him play the game, So in South Africa, we do have that space. We do have those characters who are in love with gaming, who want to do this thing, and maybe might not understand, how do I start? How do I get into this into this career? I'm letting them know that there is multiple different types of careers that are available. So all you need to do, just reach out to us at the UNISA Esports and Robotics Federation. We are more than willing to assist, to give you career guidelines and so forth, and even refer you to institutions that are providing fourth industrial revolution based education curriculums.
Thank you very much, Tolesmo.
Okay, may I just add 2 cents? With Unreal Engine, you can become a simulation specialist, meaning you develop the virtual worlds. You can become an automotive and aerospace visualization specialist. Pretty straightforward. Technical artist, you specialize in creating the optimal pipeline and optimization tools. You can be a technical animator. You rig characters and creatures, and even mechanical objects. You can be a previs artist, and you create pre-visualizations and animatic during pre-production.
So I really appreciate this because, even though we're focusing right now, for example, Mo, you're focusing on gaming, and Isaac, you're focusing specifically around animation in that space, right? I just want to read you something that says that the demand for 3D graphic skills is concentrated in these 5 main areas. In construction and architecture. That's the first one that I even spoke about earlier, right?
Yes.
Architectural visualization.
Right now is around design and media. The third one is in engineering. You can imagine, for example, then it says information technology, manufacturing and production. There's a guy that designs training manuals for the guys that drive the trucks, the big trucks in the mines, right? They need somebody that is going to design that game so that it is simulated training before they actually go and drive that 30 million rand machine out there. So there's jobs across the scope in terms of what you are able to learn in terms of interactive and 3D skills. Isabel,
definitely.
On your side, the details around the careers, and then I'd like to bring in, after your response, some of the questions from Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube.
Okay.
Anything from your side, Isabel, specifically around the
I mean, just in
individual
terms
career
of animation,
paths?
one of the big areas that is always overlooked is motion graphics. It's a massive employer. It's simple animation, basic stuff, just basic movements. And these kids get employed in corporates. They do the graphics for corporates, does opening sequences and so forth for film industry. So motion graphics is a big area as well. And then within 3D animation, you're looking at modelers, riggers, compositors, art director, producers, lighting and texture. Interestingly enough, when my internship, we took photographers and trained them to be lighting and texturing experts, and they did phenomenally well. So it's also looking at what are the specific skills that you can link, you can pivot from one career into animation. So that's something.
It's so amazing.
Our new website soon. Sorry, someone talking?
Sorry, I'm saying it's so amazing how then all of these careers that you're speaking of, even the ones that Isaac are speaking of and the ones I'm mentioning, all kind of interlink, but then they exist in so many different worlds of 4IR. Sorry, please continue with your website, yeah?
Yeah, so animationsa.org is always been there, but we've through the funding from GIZ, we're able to like put some meat and bones onto it and make it more interactive and useful for the industry. So it's going to have things where you can upload, whether you're a graduate student, if you're unemployed or employed, to make sourcing for talent a lot more easier, to access people's LinkedIn profiles, their show reels and so forth.
Like
so
a
that
Fiverr.
It becomes a lot
Is it like
more
a Fiverr kind
interactive
of
with
thing?
the industry.
Is it like a Fiverr kind of platform?
Sort of, yeah. So that will be launching in the next couple of months. We're almost done with it. There's going to be a lot of cool features that's going to be on it, and it's going to just be more beneficial to the industry.
I just want to bring in some of the viewers. Isabel, the point that you're speaking to right now about the creation of a information point, right? A cumulated information point. I think that is one of the big recommendations that are coming out of this session and that I'd like us to take forward to our partners. The reason why they are hosting these sessions is really so that we learn from each other and we are able to come up with recommendations. So I'd really like us to take this recommendation to continue with this discussion and to advise them further on this, because the kind of comments that you are getting, for example, from our viewers here, they speak to some of the things that we're speaking to, things like, for example, there's someone here that says, where do I get training in about what you're speaking about in the township? Right? That's such a simple and straightforward question, but I do not necessarily have immediate answer. So how do we begin tackling those issues of access? Isaac, you want to come in there?
Yes, when it comes to training for Unreal Engine, it's pretty straightforward. You go to epicgames.com and they have a learn tab there, and they have a very good, they have fantastic materials to get you from beginner to advanced, and where you can kind of gauge where you are, with feedback as well. So epicgames.com, they are the creators of Unreal Engine, and they are the ones that also bought Twinmotion. Twinmotion you use for architectural visualization. They've also bought the other company that does the performance capture. It eludes me for the moment, but all the stuff, all the training material you need
is there.
epicgames.com.
Yeah.
Go to the
Blender
learning tab
as well. Blender, it's free.
Blender is free, and Blender comes with Eevee now, which is a real-time engine. Blender is brilliant if you want to learn a 3D software that's free and that does everything.
And then when it comes to the basics of coding and robotics, you can use Arduino packs, and you can also, with coding, use a website called Code HQ. It's a very nice and simple basic education, and you also come out with a certificate when you're done with the online courses. So it's free and available. Code HQ.
I started. I don't know how to code, so I started learning. I'm learning a language called Python. you know, it's easy for an idiot like me. And there's so many resources from YouTube, etc. Python, there's so much educational material on that. And someone who's never coded, who doesn't really understand what's going on, they really helping out with that one. So I recommend Python. Apparently there are all kinds of other languages, but this one here works for me.
I'm going to ask, as we begin wrapping up, and I think some of the questions are more comments than questions on the social media, but I'm going to ask Isabel, the GFC platforms at the moment as a source of information, the NFVF platforms, how do we assess what we've got at the moment? We've spent the last hour and a half identifying a need to create access to information, the most basic of information. I'll give you like a very basic example. I am part of a group of artists, and those artists are from musicians, all kinds of performers who have created YouTube channels. Do you understand that there's a need to even train somebody on how to create a YouTube channel?
Yes.
How to monetize that YouTube channel. This person can sing their hearts out. They can write the most beautiful poetry. They've got the most beautiful content that they're creating. But there's a need for the most basic of training across multiple levels, from the kids in the schools, the practitioners at the moment who need to change their career paths, the broadcasters themselves, the commissioners, as Isaac said, as well as then the decision makers, policy at government and in private sector. What we're doing is not new. How do we gain traction from these kinds of initiatives? Where do we take these discussions forward? I think that's, for me, the last part of this discussion, before we then talk about what would be the last part of this discussion that the GFC wanted to speak about. How did you cope in your industry during COVID as the last part of this discussion? So if you just wrap up our recommendations and then we segue into your experiences during COVID and how you think that it has shaped the way that we will work.
I think my battery's gonna die, and so I might disappear before you guys are done.
So maybe you answer us quickly then, Isaac, and then we can let you go. How has COVID affected you, and what would be your final recommendations to our stakeholders going forward?
Okay, the stakeholder one, we need an animation and CG gaming white paper in South Africa. So we need to go on a fact-finding mission to define the industry, to so that we're all on the same page. Because I feel like for the most part we talk in circles and then we're here again and nothing was done the first time around. So if we have a Bible that we could all just refer to, it just helps us put everybody on the same page. And then I recommend that we throw some of the curriculum in the dustbin and start again. Look at what the future holds in terms of careers, and then just start again. Throw the old one in the dustbin and start again.
My brother, I'm going to request for your patience for the last 2 minutes while we wrap up, so that we all wrap up, because I think we've said so many important things. Isabel, yes. Can I give you your chance for your last comment, please, and your recommendations?
Yeah, I would like the strategy that was written by Glenn Gillis and the consultants about 5 years ago to be implemented by Arts and Culture. Why invest that much in a strategy that you're not going to do anything with? My research, which I launched last year, November, confirmed a lot of what they had recommended in that strategy. So it is all written down in terms of how we should be going forward. I would love to engage with the Gauteng Film Commission on ensuring that my social impact strategy, and we get information out to every library, every community center that has a computer, that we have our videos uploaded on there. So yeah, there's quite a few work that we've done that just needs implementation. It just needs support, and it's sitting there. So for me, it's, you know, we're no longer going to be doing any more work. It's just, we got to get what we've done implemented.
I think we're at that stage where we really need to implement. Monges.
Yes.
There's a young man that is sitting in Deep Kloof. There's a young lady that is listening to us in KZN, and they want to, you know, take up a career in interactive and 3D technology and content development. We've said a lot today. What would you say to that kid about their dream? How do you inspire that kid to not give up? Because we didn't give up. We're still trying to, you know, pursue our dreams in creating this content.
You know what they say, man? I always say this, is that it's a quote from Oliver Wendell Holmes, right? He says, he says, when a mind is stretched to a new idea, it never returns to its original dimension. All right. So what we need to do is start educating them and filling up the mind. Let people be aware of what 4IR is. You understand? That is the most important thing that people need to understand, so that it can be something we speak about every day. It can be a household brand. People know that, yo, let me think of something I can do online than rather opening up a spaza shop at the corner. You know, why don't I open up an app where you can get my keep and you can get my scopas and all these things on an app, and I bring it to your house rather than you coming out to the street and so forth. You know, the effect of COVID-19 has actually, one thing that I've loved is put more, how can I say, pressure on the government to transform our country to a 4IR compatible country. Because look at what happened with COVID-19. No one can see each other, touch each other physically. You know, with esports is a non-contact sport. So that is something that we should be pushing and saying that our children at schools can be safer knowing that they're not touching each other or being in contact with each other with those kind of sports, but they can still play a sport, but is how can I say, COVID-free and healthy and safe, you know? So last but not least, I'd like to say to the Chitako Soweto, Chitako Tembisa, is that, you know what, anything is possible if you just can get access to information online. Isaac has mentioned and Isabel has mentioned that there's so many platforms you can use to study and to enlighten your mind. But in the interim, we are pushing at higher levels to make sure that things that you require in terms of getting into 4IR is available.
On that note, esteemed colleagues, we've walked a long journey. We still have a long journey to walk. I really mean it. Changing people's mindsets and introducing them to a new way of thinking is not a new thing. People adapt, people change. Some are slower than others, and I think we've had the disadvantage of not being listened to for a very long time, but we haven't given up. I really appreciate your participation in this platform. The intention of this is to launch a program, as we've been discussing, that will collate all of this information with one primary intention: to make access to information as easy as possible to the widest number of people. And I think that's the commitment that we make. There were great recommendations from including Department of Education, engaging with DTI, a need for a consolidated strategy and not working in silos. And on my behalf, on my part, and I think on behalf of all of the partners here, I thank you and I pledge to continue on this journey, and I wish you well as you lead us in this 4IR journey.
Thank you, Leboni. You are also leading us in the 4IR fashion. I can see you are wearing your Obi Kenobi Star Trek.
Thank you very much, Thomas. Oh!
May the force be with you.
Thank you guys. For any other information, you guys can log on to the GFC website, and we'll try and provide as much information on there as possible. But Aluta continua, guys. We still have a long way to go.
Definitely. God bless you all. Thank you so much. I love you guys.
Respect. Respect.
Thank you.
Gauteng province has created a relief for the benefit of individuals within the sports and arts sector. This is out of the realization that sports and arts continue to be one of the sectors that is hardest hit by the COVID pandemic. And in this regard, as a caring government, we have found means of how we can create some form of relief for individuals within the sectors, but also possible job opportunities. And in this regard, one of the things that we have done with all the national events or national day events that we do have, we've made them virtual and are still able to employ and work with various artists and sports individuals. And this has been done from our Human Rights Day, our Freedom Day, and now with Youth Month. We continue to integrate artists and sports individuals within, so that whilst COVID does not allow for major events to take place, by going virtual, it enables us to still be able to utilize these skills and showcase the talent that the province has. With regard to the Gauteng Relief Fund that is created for individuals within the sports and arts sectors, this is a relief fund of 28 million, which we seek to find individuals who work within our communities. These may be individuals who teach art classes within communities, who coach soccer teams within communities, netball teams and so forth across the various sporting codes. These are the individuals who play a critical role in the development of our communities. These are people who ensure that our communities keep fit and, more importantly, are engaged within positive recreational activities. Our fund is geared at all these people, and all we ask is that you come and apply, visit our website, visit our social media pages at Gauteng SACR, that's at Gauteng SACR, and you'll be able to get more information. We really want to make sure that we assist these individuals because we appreciate the work that they do in our communities, because it is in line with what government seeks to do, and we want to make sure that people continue being engaged within positive activities such as recreation, within arts, within our sports, and so forth. So please do apply. This fund is for you.